I'll be going live. I never have the timing right. I talk about this every time. Hopefully we're actually live now. Not sure, but it says I'm live, so I'm gonna assume that means we're actually live. So for those watching, welcome to the podcast, the On Just Restart podcast. We do almost every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time or 6 p.m. Pacific time. And if you live in another time zone, I'm sorry, I don't know that time zone. But this time we are joined by Joey Ferris. FerrisWheelPro is his YouTube channel. It's linked in the description below. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, I am here, and I am very happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I love guesting on podcasts. If any of you watching have a podcast, let me know, because I love podcasting.
We are excited to have you. This guy is a huge, passionate fan of gaming, especially Nintendo. I think you guys who enjoy watching our discussions on Nintendo things will also enjoy what he has to talk about all the time as well. So make sure to check him out. And of course, Brandon is here as well. What About Nintendo? His channel is also linked in the description below. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good. I'm glad you're doing well and not terrible. That's definitely a good
It's a
sign.
key distinction, yeah.
Yeah. So the plan for tonight is to talk about a Nintendo Direct that may or may not even happen. That's kind of been the theme of the year. Talking about hoping for a Nintendo Direct that may or may not happen. I'm going to say just right off the bat, I feel really confident about this one, and I'll explain why as we go into the discussion. So we're going to be talking about if this is going to be happening, and if it is happening, why is it happening, and then what is it going to be, like a full Direct, a mini, a partner showcase? We'll get into that. And then we're going to be getting into like what we actually think we may be seeing in this Direct and all of that as well. And I guess we'll also touch on the possibility of it not being anything, because that is a possibility as well. So we'll talk about that and anything else that you guys sort of bring up in the chat. So we will be going back and forth in the chat, seeing what you guys have to say, seeing what you guys think. And that's pretty much the sort of focus for tonight. Anything and everything about this Direct. So before I check in with the chat here, I guess let's just kind of quickly talk while people sort of roll in. I have some different leakers and rumors and journalists who have said some things, and I'll pull that up a little bit later into this, but just like your thoughts. Do you think this Nintendo Direct that's supposedly coming this Friday, August 28th, is actually coming? Joey, since you're new here, why don't you go first?
I think there's something happening this week because we've heard from people who have pretty solid track records of predicting these Directs that this is happening this week, and I don't know why all roads point to Friday, but I do think the Friday date makes sense if this is a Direct dedicated to one thing and one thing only, and that I think is the Super Mario collection. If it's a collection or if it's just the 3 games released separately, it's just like those things have been rumored to death, and usually when things are rumored to death, save for like Star Fox Racing, which somehow never happened, then I think that there's truth to these sources.
So then you're saying at the very least we get the Mario stuff. Everything else maybe, but that's like the sure thing in your opinion.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, I don't think Nintendo's gonna have a general Direct at all this year. I think they've pretty much just given up on 2020 because they got hit hard by COVID. So that's just what I think.
Oh, so you're not even thinking this will be like you're thinking it's a low chance Direct, but definitely a Mario Remaster announcement.
Yeah, I think if it's any Direct, it's not going to be a general Direct. It's just going to be a Direct dedicated to those Mario remasters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, what are you thinking?
I mean, I tend to agree in that I don't know if we'll get a general Nintendo Direct. It's hard to say. I mean, I want one, so I want to say, hey, yeah, we'll definitely get a general Direct. We'll see Breath of the Wild, announced probably for like 2021 or something. We'll see the Mario remasters and all the other games we need, and that's what I would want. But honestly, I gotta say, I'm also leaning towards the idea that maybe we don't see things like, unless there's something big in the spring, like if there's nothing this holiday, spring 2021, unless it's like busier than usual. It might not be anything then either. No need for a general direct until early 2021. That might be the case. I don't know.
I guess I'm forever the optimist here. Like, I think there's gonna be a direct, but I definitely agree that there's a good chance that, like, if it isn't like a full direct, it might be like a very Mario focused thing. I think that is, if not the biggest thing to come out this year, like the second biggest thing to come out this year, probably the biggest thing to come out this year. So, like, for sure, I think that's gonna be a big focus. I think if you're expecting Breath of the Wild 2 this year, you're probably going to be disappointed. I'm disappointed because earlier in the year, that was like, yeah, it's happening. Now I'm like, no, probably not. I hope I have that small hope, but at this point, it really just doesn't seem realistic. So I'm going to check in the chat for a moment here, but I kind of want to delve a little bit deeper into this because if looking at like the different like leakers, right? There's a few that I sort of pay attention to that have provided information pretty consistently and accurately in the past. One that a lot of you may know, one that I think where people really start jumping on this whole bandwagon the last few days is Jeff Grubb from VentureBeat. He writes for VentureBeat, and he's said a lot of things in the past that have come true. The biggest example that comes to mind right now is the Nintendo Direct Mini. He told us there'd be a Nintendo Direct Mini, and that was true. And actually, he put out like this list of things to happen during this like summer to fall period, and he said there'd be like a wild card, like something from Nintendo between the 11th and 22nd, and that happened. We were all hoping it'd be something maybe a little bit bigger, but it turned out to be the Indie World Showcase, and I'll say that was pretty good, better than I expected.
That was. Nice. It was the best direct all year.
Maybe, you know what? Like, I'll say, in terms of my expectations, it met my expectations better than any.
It exceeded my expectations.
Exactly. It exceeded mine too. Like, I was just like, I don't know any of these games. I just found out about them, but I want to play most of them. Like, seriously, I bought a short hike right away. I was like, yes, please.
It looks like a DS game. I think that's pretty cool.
That's why I bought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really short though, but it's worth it.
I mean, it's like $7,
it's
right?
in the name.
Like, yeah, it seems like a good value for a few hours of gameplay. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I mean, the indie show was very good. I was surprised at how many like shadow drops there were, and I think that's what made it like so much better than, say, for example, the partner showcase, which was a lot shorter, less content, things we kind of already knew about, say for Shin Megami Tensei, and a lot of that stuff is coming out like next year. There wasn't like, hey, you have stuff to look forward to now, say for like a wrestling game that's coming out in September, if I remember correctly. And then there was like the re-release for Cadence of Hyrule, like a physical version in October. This partner showcase had a lot of stuff like immediately. Like, you went to eShop, there's a whole bunch of new games.
Yeah, exactly. And if this direct this week is another developer showcase, it needs to be miles better than what we got.
People are going to be upset. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Like, maybe you could argue that's a little immature to be upset, but like, I would argue that we haven't had like a lot to play that's been announced lately from Nintendo. You know, like, I'm seriously considering maybe just investing in a PlayStation 5 this year, just because at this point there isn't too many things to play for the Switch this holiday. I mean, there's in terms of indie support, that like with the Indie World Showcase, we definitely have a decent lineup, but otherwise there isn't that much known, say for Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So, you know, I do think Nintendo has to make announcements soon, or, you know, I think a lot of people like myself might just spend their money elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, I know a lot of people use COVID as like the big reason why we're not getting anything. And I'm like, yeah, that is a reason, of course. But then you have these other game companies that are not being silent, and they're still releasing games. We don't even want Nintendo to even technically release more games like this year. We just want to know. We just want transparency, and they're not being transparent with us. Yeah.
Like, if Nintendo like told us towards the beginning of the year, it's like, hey, look, guys, we don't. I mean, they did tell us, sort of, not in like the night. It wasn't like the Breath of the Wild delay video or the Metroid Prime delay video where they had one of their executives come up on a stage and filmed it, and there was a very like heartfelt message. It's just kind of, we've gotten like these little cards at the beginning of like 2 or 3 presentations spread throughout the year, and that's pretty much it. it would have been nice to get like a message and then maybe saying, hey, look, we can't bring out any new games this year, but instead we will focus on a lot of remasters or stuff like that this year. That way you have something to play, and then look forward to our newer products the year after. Like if they did something like that, I think fans would have been okay with that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be more than okay with that. And yeah, it is frustrating for them not being transparent with us, especially when they said at shareholder meetings like COVID hasn't affected them at all. And I think we all know that's not true.
Right.
Really interesting point, because we got something from Emily Rogers recently, and she kind of shed some light on Pikmin 3. So I want to show that to you guys real quick here. I'm going to make it visible for everyone else to see. There we go. So Emily Rogers, I'll just read what she said in her tweet. Before COVID-19, original plan for Pikmin 3 was spring-summer release. That's why April, May were empty. That was Pikmin's spot. October was not the original release for Pikmin 3. Pikmin 3 in October might meet something on schedule, has to move to early 2021, January, February. And she said a whole bunch of things to that. But that right there, what she's saying, she's literally saying that Pikmin 3 was supposed to come out like in the first half of this year, and that it was delayed. So it's kind of strange that she's saying that. And I from my understanding, she does has inside information, and sometimes when she relays that information, it doesn't always come true because it hasn't been announced yet or what have you. That's my perspective on it. But I just think that, I don't know, it's weird. Like if what she's saying is true, then what did Nintendo tell their investors? Did they lie? Is it like being misconstrued, misinterpreted? It's kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
That is very confusing. Wow.
I will say a lot of their wording has been focused on like the fiscal year and not necessarily 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be that there's still stuff coming out, like big games in early 2021 that got pushed that were supposed to come out like holiday.
Yeah,
I heard from someone who knows people like working for Nintendo that basically their entire lineup just got shifted. Like that, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not sure, but I don't doubt it at this point. I really just expect the rest of 2020 to be the Switch year filled with remasters and remakes. We're not getting anything. I don't think we're getting anything substantial for the rest of the year. So I know that's totally pessimistic of me to say, but that's kind of just the message I've been getting from Nintendo. Like they're clearly stuck, and they got hit the hardest by COVID, and no matter what they say, that's the message I'm getting from them.
Yeah, there's nothing to believe otherwise at this point, other than just hope.
Yeah.
Let's hope. Yeah. To provide, I guess, the optimist, because I don't disagree with you guys. I mean, the evidence.
Give us the
is there.
optimist take.
Right.
I need good vibes coming
my
way.
The evidence is there, though, right? To what you guys are saying, like, it's already happened. This year has already been really slow. We've talked about it before. If you look at the ratios here, let's assume the Mario Remasters are real. We got Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a Wii U port in January. We got a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game earlier in the year as a remaster. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, a Wii U port. And the Mario Remasters are real. That's 5. I'm assuming it's a collection as one product. That's 5 remaster Wii U port sort of things. And then like the new products coming out for Switch this year: Animal Crossing, Paper Mario, Clubhouse Games, which is a cheaper than max retail price game. It's a board game compilation essentially. But those are the 3 original games from Nintendo. I might be missing like one more. Bravely Default 2. If that comes out this year, that's being published by Nintendo, even though it's being developed by Square and their people. That would be a 4 to 5 ratio, assuming that makes it out this year. Point is that ratio is leaning towards remasters and Wii U ports as opposed to brand new original games. That's not usually how it is. Like Nintendo definitely like does a lot of that, but it's usually been a little bit closer to even or skewed more towards original stuff. But for my optimistic take here, the point I'm trying to get at is that I feel like we've already been going through that slow period, and I would argue that maybe we're getting close. We're getting to like the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of that slow period, that adjustment period for Nintendo. And this may end up being, even though that may not have been their intention initially, but because they had to shift things over and they had to take more time with things, this will turn out to be maybe perhaps a calm before the storm. I think maybe we start getting some serious Nintendo, even if it's not a full direct, maybe it's just the Mario Remaster stuff. It could be the beginning of like announcements that are gonna be pretty hard hitting from Nintendo. Kind of just going into 2021, and 2021 I think may end up being the Switch's peak year. If you kind of look at the different years for Nintendo the last like handful of years, you look at 2016 on the Wii U, just it did basically there was nothing. But then 2017 was arguably like the best year for Nintendo ever. Like the amount of games we got that year was incredible, and that was a Switch launch. Then
I'm still waiting for that. Yeah, I'm waiting for that peak year, like you said.
Yeah, but let's take a look at 2018 though. It was slow, right? Until Smash and Pokemon Let's Go, but the year was kind of slow. But then 2019, what happened? The beginning was a little slow, but that second half was just jam-packed with games, and we got a Switch Lite and the version 2.0. So what I'm suggesting is that it seems like there's that really slow year, then that next year, lots of big games, and there's some sort of hardware release. So what I'm getting at now is that this is the year after 2019 to 2020. It's kind of slow. Maybe it wasn't intentional, but it seems to be the case now. 2020 is going to be slow. And 2021, maybe we get a lot of really good games. Maybe we get some sort of Metroid release, maybe Prime Trilogy HD. Maybe we finally get Bayonetta 3. Breath of the Wild 2, I feel like, has to come out by then. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming out then. I'm sure there's going to be other stuff that hasn't been announced yet. There probably will be a mainline Pokemon release next year because we're getting DLC this year. Point is, 2021 is looking to be a really strong year, and we did have those data mines of some sort of Switch revisions a while ago, and the last time we had data mines like that, a year and a half later, we got the Switch Lite in version 2.0. The pattern suggests that next year, we're going to have a lot of big games, and maybe there's some other sort of Switch revision in 2021. That's what I'm thinking, and it's going to be a big, awesome year, and even though we may not have a big holiday, we'll at least start getting some announcements for those things, and we'll have things to look forward to, because we haven't had things to at least sort of think about and talk about because Nintendo hasn't told us anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of the hope that they, like, even if things are kind of far off, just like tell us that. Like, I would like to know. Even if you say, like, you know, 2020 is not going to be great, but 2021, we're coming back with the games. Like, that'd be nice. Like, even if I have to wait, like, I don't care. I just want to know.
Maybe that's the thing. It's stressful because we don't know. Like, we're just always wondering what's next. And I think Arlo said it best. Like, their silence is deafening. It really is. Yeah.
So let me check in with the chat real quick here, and then we will progress. If my chat would work. Nope. It's not working. Okay, it loaded up. All right, good. A lot of you guys are here. I won't be able to get to everyone, but hello to you all. There's a lot there, a lot of stuff. Let me see if I can get to a couple particular things. Oh, I see Monster Maze is in the chat. He's giving you a shout out, Joey.
Where is he? I missed him. Monster Maze, where are you?
Well, this is what he said specifically. My man Joseph, check out this man's channel. His reviews are great. I absolutely agree with that.
No, thanks, buddy. And yeah, check out Monster Maze if you guys don't know who he is, which
really cool Zelda channel.
Really cool Zelda channel. Yeah, he got up there fast. I mean, he was working with Conrad over at Commonwealth Realm, and then it's like, he said, I'm gonna make my own. I'm gonna do it myself also. So he put on that Infinity Gauntlet and said, fine, I'll do it myself. Marvel jokes.
Well, I mean, his videos are great. Some really, really cool Zelda theories, which we may get to a little bit later into this discussion. Just a little bit of a teaser for later. But just kind of rolling through chat here real quick. The armchair analysis. Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart Ultimate, whichever it is, I think if it's coming next year, we'll get at least a teaser similar to Smash's reveal all the way back in March 2018. In this direct, that is. Okay, so that's interesting. I do remember there was like some rumors for Mario Kart 9 early in the year. We haven't really heard anything else about that since. I'm kind of divided on it because I would love to get a Mario Kart 9, but I'm also looking at the sales for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's still selling really well. Is there a need for it from like a business perspective from Nintendo? Not sure.
Yeah, I always hate that whole thing of, oh, sales are really good, why do a sequel? Because that's why we keep getting all these ports of GTA 5. It's so annoying to me. And And it's like, I think they should come out with Mario Kart 9, whether that's, well, we know they're going to come out with a 9th Mario Kart at some point, whether it's on the Switch, whether it's not, who knows at this point. But yeah, Mario Kart 8's still doing well because, you know, people are buying Switches still. And what's the one game they always get with it? Probably Mario Kart 8 because it's Mario Kart. Mario Kart prints money, let's be honest.
I'll settle for an expansion of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though I feel like it's unlikely at this stage. I'll settle for that because
God,
I just want some new
the
tracks.
expansion 3 years later.
Yeah, that just seems it would be unprecedented, I think, at least for Nintendo. But I'll take it.
Exactly.
I have another interesting question right here. Jason Ooh, do you think there will be a Skyward Sword remake this year? That's kind of like one thing I definitely sort of plan to talk about later into this discussion, but I guess we could just kind of talk about it now. Yeah. We'll
it could be announced this year. That's what I think.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because you know, sometimes Nintendo likes patterns, sometimes they don't. Oftentimes Nintendo doesn't like patterns. But you know, Wind Waker HD came out on the 15th anniversary, I believe it was. Twilight Princess HD came out. No, the 10th anniversary. My bad. And the Twilight Princess HD was 10th anniversary. Skyward Sword HD next year is their 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
So let's hope, because more people need to play Skyward Sword. It is an amazing Zelda game that gets slept on. Thank you. Yes, it is so good. Like, it gets
some of the best dungeons.
Best dungeons, best Zelda story. Period.
Yes.
I don't care.
Yeah, you're wrong. None of us disagree here. It's the best told Zelda story yet, which is why, like, if they do remaster this, I personally would want to see, as opposed to a new dungeon, voice acting. Like, if there's any sort of new content to put in there, put in voice acting. Now that Breath of the Wild is out and Breath of the Wild 2 is hopefully close-ish to coming out, like, that standard for voice acting in Zelda games has already been set. So if you go back to reworking another 3D Zelda game, I feel like some people are gonna be like, "Hey, where's the voice acting?" And I think that Skyward Sword has such a good story that if they were to hire a solid, like, cast, I think it could just make the game that much better. I don't expect it because Nintendo's pretty conservative with these things, but I think if there's anything they could do, that would be the thing to do to make this remaster really stand out.
Yeah, I would not miss because I never had it, but I wouldn't mind if they just kept the text. And like you said, Nintendo's not going to invest that much money into a straight up remaster of Skyward Sword, or it might have to be a remake if they're going to add in traditional controls or redesign the motion controls to make them work with a stick. Like, a lot of people think they're just going to settle with using the Joy-Cons to play the game, and I'm like, no, that defeats the purpose of using the Switch. Like, you take the Switch with you on the go. You're not going to be playing Skyward Sword like that on the bus or on the plane or anything. Like, that's...
Yeah, they need to have some sort of traditional control set up. It would be weird if they... Could Nintendo do it? Could they just, like, hey, you can only play this game with motion controls? I feel like they could, but I'm going to side with no, that they're going to come up with
it doesn't feel like something they would do anymore. Exactly. It feels like something they might have done, like, in the Wii era, obviously, but even, like, towards the middle, like, the Wii U era, they started, like, stopping forcing motion controls on you, so...
Yeah.
And then on the Switch era,
on the wrong side of that
God, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, tragic. Danger Noodle made a good point in the chat. Zelda and Skyward Sword suffered from Tetra syndrome, where they shoved her personality into a closet when she became a goddess.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. Also,
what happened to her tan? It just disappeared. It was just like, oh.
Yeah. But also, I was actually, what came to mind when I read that for some reason, I then immediately thought of Fi or Phi.
Oh, yeah.
It's pronounced Phi. Actually, they confirmed it is. But Phi was just. She just wouldn't stop talking. She just wouldn't interrupt the game. Stop interrupting the game to tell you what to do, and that's something you can easily fix in a remake. Like,
yes,
I don't need you to tell me my batteries are low. I don't need you to do that.
Right.
Oh man, Joy-Cons don't really die as much as the Wiimote did. They
don't.
Oh man.
No, they last a long time.
Wow.
It's like 20 hours or something.
That's gonna make the game a lot better. Just lack of
the Pro Controller, 40
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, I think we'll be
See.
good on that one. I want to read this one thing from Ronnie, and then I want to get back to Skyward Sword because I feel like there's a lot with that still we can talk about. So Ronnie added me. Do you worry that Nintendo might become a little too complacent with the success of the Switch, and that might be a potential reason why they've been a little slow? I think that's a great question because that is like a little bit of a fear personally. It's in the back of my mind. I'm gonna say that they are not gonna do that, or at least I hope they don't, because when Nintendo does see a lot of success, there does seem to be like a little bit of a pattern where they get a little complacent. Like, look at what the Wii U was, and maybe complacent isn't necessarily the right word, but I guess they rested on their laurels. They tried to use that, ride the Wii branding to success, and what they didn't realize is that was no longer going to work. I think the cool thing about the Switch is that I feel like they're finding similar levels of success, but it's not like a one-time thing. This audience that they have right now is an audience that I think is always going to exist. These are traditional gamers that have a comfortable way to play their games. The Wii was like, oh, grandma now can find another way to exercise, but now we just do that in different ways now, where we have smartphones, things of that nature. So that was a one-time thing. What Switch has now is more consistent, and I think Nintendo understands why the Switch is successful. So I think they're going to still push that, give it games so it can be successful. But I also think that to a certain extent they are, I guess, relying on their previous success, because now their sales numbers are really good, and they're in a situation where they don't have to rush out their games, because they're going to be fine if they waited a little bit longer, put out a few Wii U ports and remasters to tide things over, and then next year will be really good. So I think to an extent they are doing it, but not for wrong reasons. I think they're doing it for the right reasons. So they're not going to rush any games when the games are ready, like your Breath of the Wild 2, like your Metroid Prime 4. They're going to be amazing masterpiece games, but in the meanwhile, we'll have to settle for third-party stuff and some remasters and Wii U ports.
Yeah, but I do understand what he's saying, because I do feel like the Switch, the success of it has caused Nintendo to not give us things like Virtual Console, folders, the home menu.
The Ambassador
what
program
else?
was the best thing ever on the 3DS. That was so cool.
Speaking of 3DS, eShop is still garbage.
Actually good online.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, I just downloaded a bunch of Virtual Console games on my Wii U the other day. I can't do that on Switch, and I think that's a crime in and of itself.
Yeah. Actually, just while we're on it, do you think we'll get N64 online this year? Because we got SNES last year, NES the year before. Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
I don't know. Like, yeah, that's. I don't know if that's a topic that I just get angry when I think about.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with no, just because I feel like it's just too good to be true, sort of thing. Until it's actually announced, I'm not gonna believe it.
And now it's like when the Switch was announced, we were thinking, oh, Nintendo's going to bring all these Virtual Console games. Obviously, they would do that on the Wii and the Wii U. Why wouldn't they do that on Switch? And now it's like a too good to be true thing, and I think that's just wrong.
Right.
Oh man.
I remember the rumors that the Switch was when Switch Online came out, it's gonna like launch with GameCube games or something.
Gosh.
That definitely did not happen. You know what's gonna happen?
Money.
We're gonna get a original Game Boy, and that's it. And then we're gonna get Color separately, and then we'll get Advance also separately.
The final year of Switch will get just Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
We'll never get
Final year of Switch.
Ends there.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I don't know. I don't want to say it'll never happen, but I also can't. I'm not gonna make any predictions either, because it's just.
I can't put money on this bet.
yeah, I can't. So before we jump into things here, Alan Wilkinson provided a super chat. Thank you very much. Hashtag Hulk for Smash. Hashtag limits are made to be broken.
Hulk for Smash.
That would be definitely unprecedented. Maybe I don't expect it, but that would be pretty. It would be pretty sick. So
how would you make him feel different than Donkey Kong? That's the question.
You'd be a bigger, tougher version of Donkey Kong
With no coconut gun.
with
Fire
a
and
coconut gun.
Fires, shoots ya. It's gonna hurt.
You could do like Sonic Booms or something, or like scream really loud.
What we need is a remake of Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Like, come on, where is it?
What did that come out for?
GameCube, Xbox, and
Okay.
PS2, I believe.
Okay.
And
I
it,
think I actually remember that.
I only ever played a demo of it at Target when they had the little kiosks, and it was like, you just ran around the city just beating things up.
Picking
it was
up
like the
cars.
game. Yeah, it was like the game prototype, but good, you know?
That would be really fun. We need more games. I hope next gen there's more games with like really good destruction physics and stuff. Because that was kind of something we didn't really see a lot this gen.
I mean, Crackdown 3 promised it, but
God.
I mean,
What if Breath of the Wild 2 has
Power
a
of the
whole bunch
cloud.
destruction in it?
what if you could just destroy mountains?
What if you could? Like, what? That'd be just crazy. I guess the thing is that it would be
Trying to
tough to
think of
design
a-
around. Because you
Trying to think of a technical way that the Switch could achieve that, and not coming up with anything that would run well.
The cloud.
The cloud. There you go.
There you go.
And the Switch version comes out next year. It comes with a SIM card slot, so it can always be online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember when the Vita had SIM card slots?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I feel like
I remember
there's
it had-
still like
it
I
had
think there might be a
3G
future with
support.
that. It wouldn't shock me if like the next Switch could do that. But it would be you wouldn't need to like necessarily buy a plan from Nintendo, but maybe you just get a SIM card from the phone plan or something. I'm just talking about like future generations. 'Cause I do feel like eventually, if you're gonna rely on mobile technology forever moving forward, at some point it's gonna have like a constant internet connection.
Yeah. If cloud gaming's the future, prove it.
Yeah.
I'm not sold whatsoever yet.
Yeah.
I'd like to own my physical games before you try and take them away from me.
I feel like I'm on the wrong side of history here because I download most of my games. Like if it's
Yeah,
something that I
it's-
know I like, if it's Zelda, I'm gonna buy the physical version. I'm gonna buy
Obviously.
the
yeah.
collector's version. I'm gonna buy everything for that. But for most games, I'm like, I don't have to get
For
out of
most
the house. I'll
games-
just download it.
Unless I'm getting the collector's edition, I just get it online. I think it's just the way I play games. Like most games, I will not replay. Like I'll play it once, I'll beat it. I'm like, okay, I never need to ever play that game again my entire life. So
Yes,
why
you
do
can.
I need it?
Yeah, you can't sell it.
The only, yeah, that is the only
Yeah.
difference is you can't resell it. So
You can resell it, and if it's gone from the store, it's gone forever. Like PT, Scott Pilgrim. Well, I think Scott Pilgrim you can re-download, but PT, that game was just gone. Man, the digital future is very scary to me. Like I do buy digital games a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like especially when I get review codes, they're codes. They don't ever like send physical
Yeah.
games out practically ever, which is a shame.
Mhm.
But if if there's a game coming out day one and I want to buy it physically, I'm gonna buy it physically. I'm not gonna. I'll have to miss out on playing it the night before it officially launches. But that's totally fine with me,
Right.
as long as I add that pretty little case to my bookshelf or my game shelf now, and I get to keep it. And I don't need to worry about the servers shutting down in like 10-15 years and it being gone forever.
That is a concern. I mean, like we know we're losing the Wii U eShop, right? Like it's not the exact
don't
same
know.
thing, but
Yeah, I don't know if we're losing it soon. I know some territories are losing it because nobody in that area ever uses it.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm concerned about losing that
Yeah.
Wii U eShop. I'm concerned about my Wii U breaking
I'm
because
Like,
surprised the Wii U
here's a
shop's
fear
been
of
up as
mine.
long as it has.
So when I got Xenoblade X years ago, because you needed to get an external hard drive to play that on your Wii U. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, but then I reused that external hard drive for something else later on. So there's all these games that I've had downloaded for my Wii U that are no longer on it right now. I have to re-download them. What happens when that eShop is shut down? Those games that I never re-downloaded that I pay for that I technically have the right to re-download, do I lose that option? You know? Like, do I have to reintegrate an external hard drive and just download
you
everything
do.
and download the past, or else I'm gonna lose it forever? Like, I think that's what's gonna happen. If I don't do that soon, I'm gonna lose all those games that I haven't re-downloaded.
You just made a good point. Put Xenoblade Chronicles X on Switch, man.
Please.
Like, come on,
Please.
Maybe, yeah. I think it's gonna be like one of the final Wii U ports on Switch 2.
It's just as long as it gets a Switch port, just give it to me.
Yeah, I think maybe we could see that before we get like Xenoblade 3.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I want to get back to there's still so much we're just scratching the surface here. But let's get back to Skyward Sword, because I want to talk a little bit about that. So we've gotten multiple listings for Skyward Sword on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I just want to be straight up with you guys. While I'm excited about Skyward Sword, and I actually do think it's happening, I also think that the listings don't necessarily mean anything, because we've seen a lot of listings for things in the past. For example, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD has been listed on Amazon, at Best Buy several times, and we still haven't seen anything for it. So I don't think these listings for sure mean something's coming, but I don't think it means it's not coming either. I think the 35th anniversary, well, I don't think I know, 35th anniversary is this February, and Zelda has grown as a franchise. Breath of the Wild is outselling Mario Odyssey. I think Nintendo wants to continue to push that. The same way they abuse the Mario brand, I think Nintendo's going to continue to increasingly abuse the Zelda brand. So I definitely expect a lot of Zelda really soon. It wouldn't shock me if we somehow see both Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild 2 within like a year of each other. And even though I don't expect for sure he's like Skyward Sword HD coming out like say this year, I think there's like a small chance that happens. I just think it makes sense. We need games, and if let's say the Mario Remasters by some miracle come out this September, which is what some rumors suggest. What comes out in November? There has to be something else come out in November besides the Pokemon DLC, I think. I feel like a Skyward Sword HD in conjunction with the Pokemon DLC would be a good fit. It could be something else. But I'm just saying, like, I think between the listings, which may or may not have any significance, but the 35th anniversary and how Skyward Sword has been used in the past to celebrate the 25th and how it is like the beginning of the timeline, I feel like soon Skyward Sword is going to happen.
I think it has to, because yeah, like you said, abuse the Zelda franchise. Abuse it. It's a great franchise, dude. Like, it's really good, and a lot of people missed out on Skyward Sword. Like, I've heard some Zelda fans say it is the worst Zelda game. You're wrong.
Well,
Played Zelda 2.
It's because they're motion control prejudice.
You cannot say that Skyward Sword is the worst when Zelda 2 exists.
And then there's the CDI games, but
Of course.
Yeah,
we never
those even truly exist? Or are they just nightmares?
Do they? I was just trolling one of the people in the chat. They were like, Zelda CDI had voice acting, and I'm like, what's a CDI? What's Phillips? Who are you?
Why just wipe it from existence? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
personally-
Zelda 2 is like probably the bottom.
It's
my
the
Zelda list.
bottom.
Mhm.
Personally, I
Even
don't.
Eiji Onuma said he can't play it. Like, that says a lot.
It's so hard.
It needs to be. They need to remake it and make it good.
What they
'Cause
need
I
to
think
do.
the concept is decent enough.
I don't know if I agree, but that's okay.
It's okay. Everything's okay.
I don't think it would end up being a great game, but it'd be a playable.
Well, like, if you mean, like-
make it into a playable experience, I'd be happy.
You don't mean like 3D graphics, do you? Like,
No.
what if they made it like a?
I mean, it could be
Like-
3D, but it's still gonna play in 2D.
If they made it like a Castlevania or like Metroid kind of sprite-based sort of look for Zelda.
Dude,
They could
just
do
give it the Souls play style, because it's hard, but at
Yeah.
least Dark Souls is playable.
Yeah,
God, yeah.
not for everyone. So a lot of people give up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I tried to play Sekiro, and I was like, no, I'm good. I got this like troll thing. Supposed to get fire, couldn't find out where the hell the fire was. This thing just beat me down like 30 times. I was like, no, I'm good.
That's
Yeah.
exciting to me. I
This-
still haven't gone around the Sekiro. Actually, you know what? I think there's probably... So I have a PS4, and my PS4 controller has, like, drift on it. So I've been going through this debate right now. It's like, do I buy a new controller, or do I wait a few months to buy a PS5? And because I'm like, what am I gonna like? All I play right now on my PS4 is Fortnite. Like, but I want to get Ghost of Tsushima.
And your PS4 controller, if you bought a new one, it wouldn't work on the PS5 if you bought that. So.
Right. But I want to play Ghost of Tsushima, and I still haven't gone around the Sekiro, which I've been meaning to play. So that's 2 games right there. And Brandon, you started playing Fallen Order, which is also something I've thought about trying.
Yes, it's so good. I was playing it right before the podcast. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I weren't there like some like ex Retro Studio devs that were working on it too?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I forgot.
I know it's made by Respawn, but I don't know if anybody from Retro works.
I want to say yes, but don't quote me on that. But just getting back to the Skyward Sword thing, like I feel like there's a whole bunch of listings going on right now. With like there was a Breath of the Wild 2 Collector's Edition listing came up, and that was like on WTNT. Lootpots pointed it out, and what's interesting about that is that same distributor also had a listing for The Witcher 3 before we knew that for Switch, and a lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. So that's kind of interesting how that happened. But then also we got, I think that same site also listed Metroid Prime 4, and I don't think anyone really thinks that's coming out soon. So, you know...
I mean, it's a retail listing. Like, it's a confirmed game. It's not like they're saying it's coming out soon. Like, I had a friend message me a while back. He might still be in the chat, so I might call him out if he's still here. He said he saw that Halo Infinite was like late 2022 or something on Amazon Prime, and or Amazon, or even August 30th. And I'm like,
it was like,
don't even listen to placeholder dates.
Yeah, I think Amazon has it up for holiday 2021.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so.
Oh, actually, I remember now. The Metroid Prime 4 one, I think I had it listed for October 30th, the same day as Pikmin 3. Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening. No.
What?
No. At that point, don't even like pay attention to that. Like, don't even call attention to it. It's just placeholder crap. Like, I don't know why they even bother to even list that game, but whatever. They were taking Metroid Prime 4.
Trying to get those delicious pre-orders for a game that's not going to come out for like a year or 2.
Year and a half, 2 years.
Let me ask you guys a question though. So, have you guys noticed an increased level of reports or just listings pop up recently? Like there was a Prince of Persia remaster thing, No More Heroes for Switch thing, Breath of the Wild 2, Prime 4, Skyward Sword. There's all these different listings that are popping up. Like, do you think, even though some of those things obviously aren't happening soon, do you think that's all hinting towards something coming really soon, like a direct?
It's possible.
It's always possible. We don't know.
We do typically see a bunch of like listings because, I mean, they have to know that they're gonna announce things. I mean, Nintendo like has to tell retailers these things so they can get ready. And like a little bit before directs, we always see like random listings. But it's hard to tell if it's because of that or it's just because they think something might happen. We don't know. Like, it's not 100% like guaranteed. Like, these listings are obviously because they're being told things. Like, no, they could just be like, we're hearing some stuff on Twitter. I'll just slap a thing on there, get some pre-orders out or something.
Yeah, I think there's a Best Buy listing like last year for Prime Trilogy, Persona 5 on Switch, and Link's Awakening with A Link to the Past too, and that went absolutely nowhere. Like, it was crazy. The fact that we don't. Man, I'm not playing Persona 5 until it comes to Switch. I'm gonna be honest, like honestly, but yeah. And is that No More Heroes listing like the first game or the first 2 games?
Actually, you know what? I think I might have been mistaken. I think for No More Heroes it was a rating, not a listing, so that's a little different.
I saw the voice actor for Travis Touchdown retweet that article, and I'm just like, please, I have not played No More Heroes 1 and 2, and I'm not going to play 3 until I play those. And I don't want to go on eBay to buy the games on Wii. Like, I
don't have a Wii.
No More Heroes HD, Switch. Man.
That's it.
Bring it. Bring it. I think if there's anything that is probably a good hint, I think it has to be that rating, because that's not a listing, that's a rating. I think it was rated for Taiwan. That means it's being prepared.
I mean, you have to rate it when the content's pretty much finished. Otherwise, the rating's not gonna really mean anything. It doesn't, represent the final product. So if it's being rated, it's pretty much done. I think it has to be gold or whatever. I don't know exactly. I'm not a developer, but I know it has to be like in the last stages to get rated.
That means it would come soon, man, and it should.
Probably will hit this year like it's supposed to. It is still slated for this year.
So, I'm gonna say that some of these listings and this rating are suggesting something. I could totally be wrong. So don't take my word as gospel. I just speculate based off evidence. But I think a direct is coming. And I'm gonna explain why. So I'm gonna be pointing out multiple things from people really soon. Hold on. All right.
Danger Noodle asked if we missed having an E3, and I said,
of course.
Badly.
I missed it not only just for Nintendo, but also for the other two companies.
Yeah.
And not having events where you can sit down and play a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X, like, it's been crazy. They haven't done anything to like show us game because usually, they have those cinematic trailers and then, immediately after that, they have demos open to the public, so it's fine, you get your gameplay that way. But now they're just not doing anything.
Yeah.
Just not showing the games.
It's
not.
Nuts.
What?
And like all these other game companies having their own digital events, they sucked. I'm just gonna be real with you. Like a lot of them just weren't great. The best one was Sony's, and even then, that could have used some. I felt like it still could have been better at some points. It was just this console generation launch is not hype like 2013 was. Well, if you're an Xbox fan, 2013 was not hype in general, but I'm just not feeling that excitement, and it's partially due to all these publishers, their mediocre conferences, and it's just like,
I think that's the biggest thing. I think that there is a reason to be hyped for the next generation. I think they're just showing it really, really badly. So personally, I'm still really excited.
Me too.
Yeah, anything with CGI is trash.
But all those presentations are all just CGI trailers, like that's not exciting.
Not all the time.
A lot of them are in engine, but they're shot in a way to look like the absolute best that the game will ever look. And mostly my problem isn't even with how it looks. Mostly it's just like I want to see exactly how it plays. Like I want to see you actually playing the game.
Yeah, and that's what I really mean. Like when I see a lot of these trailers, I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I just want to see what this actually is.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing is
go on.
I think the worst thing is when they come in with a CGI trailer, and at the end you still don't know what the game is. You're just sitting there like, I guess that was cool random string of events that happened. It's like, what is this game?
If you show me a CGI trailer, show me a trailer like Deathloop. That CGI trailer was
that was amazing.
That was hype, actually. I was like, I don't know what this game is, but like I'm loving the setting, loving the music, loving the story. Like, yeah, awesome. And if they show a Metroid Prime 4 CGI trailer, I'm gonna be hyped. I got hyped looking at a title for it.
I think if you're a fan of the franchise, that's all you really need. But like if it's for someone who's new to the series and all they get is a CGI trailer, they're like, oh, what is this? You know what I mean? So I would hope that the next time we get Metroid Prime 4 news, it doesn't have to be like a full-blown gameplay trailer, but I just hope that they kind of give us information about what it is, however it's conveyed. Like,
precisely.
I was talking about it with Brandon the other day, actually. Like, remember when they were first talking about Breath of the Wild when it was just Zelda U? Like, there was a point where they had no footage. They were just like, hey, we're starting development for this. And when they also told us about Wind Waker HD, it was like one of the first like Nintendo Directs on the Wii U. And they just kind of told us like some concepts that they were kind of looking at while going to development for Zelda. Like, I would settle for that for Metroid Prime 4. Like, if you told us, so we're sort of thinking about this new style of shooting, or just something like that, just to give me an idea of what they're working on, that would be something that I could carry for a long time.
I'd really like it if they did kind of the original Breath of the Wild, just Zelda Wii U trailer, where they just showed like, pre-rendered. I mean, I don't even know what that is. I argue with myself about if that what exactly that demo was, because it's obviously not what the final game even looks like.
It was pre-alpha.
Yeah.
I feel like it was pretty close. I mean, it's changed so much. Like bridges weren't destructible, and there weren't like the windmills or things like that, and the farmer people weren't there.
But the game ran entirely too good for it to have been running on the Wii U, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, PC. Every game is made on a PC, so it makes sense. But yeah, also Death Mountain looks completely different. If you notice that, the
locations aren't in any of the same order, and that location they're showing doesn't exist.
It'd be interesting to play that game. Interesting.
It would.
Absolutely.
But back to the actual point of that is, I would love to see that, because it's literally just like kind of like how the game might look as far as its art style and graphical like fidelity. And then just concept, because that's all we really got from that original trailer. We didn't really know anything about the game except it was open world and there were these robots that chased you. That was it. It was just pretty. Even if we just got that for a Metroid Prime 4 like next year, that'd be nice.
I feel like that would give us a lot of information. Like that Zelda trailer, it at least told us, hey, this Zelda game is going to be an open world game. You know, we would at least have an idea of the art style as well. Like that was it was the similar art style. Yes, there were changes, but generally it was like sort of like a pseudo realistic cel-shaded kind of style. That's even better than what I was talking about. So for sure I'll go for that. But I was gonna try and talk about why I think this direct is happening real quick. So let me just kind of get into that here. So the first thing, Jeff Grubb, right? As we talked about the Indie World Showcase earlier, but there's another wild card that's coming, and he's recently said that it would be this Friday. Now I don't want to say he's backtracked, but I think he's suggested that this wild card, this Friday thing, might not be. He's not saying it won't be, but he's saying it might not be the thing that we've all been waiting for, a direct, because, well, you know. Like, for example, we all thought the partner showcase was going to be something bigger, and it was just a partner showcase. So it's possible that this Friday is a partner showcase, according to Jeff Grubb, but it's also possible it could be a direct. He's also gone on to say, I think he says it here on the side, that he thinks that even if this Friday isn't the big direct, something that's an equivalent to that give us news, at least for like this holidays, from what I surmise, will come a few weeks afterwards. So what he's saying is that by halfway through September, we will get that equivalent of, I guess, this E3 sort of presentation we never got. That's at least somewhat of what Jeff Grubb is suggesting here. But it's not just Jeff Grubb, though, that is kind of talking about this direct.
It's not just Grubb Snacks.
Nope.
No, I love that name.
So here's Captain Tsubasa. A lot of sites report him as King Zell. He used to go by that name on Reset Era. And this guy also has a pretty good track record. He told us about Link's Awakening before that was announced, for example, the remake. And here he's asked, well, this is kind of like a joke, but he basically says, from what I heard, it's a general, and that's what I know. So from what he's hearing, this Friday, it's going to be a general direct. Maybe. And then also, here we have Nate Drake, who's also Nate the Hate on YouTube. And he's also saying, my belief is that it's a general. And I've seen other things where he said, from his personal belief, it's a general. Now, he's also clarified that a general may still be a mini, but it would still have like a lot of like announcements from first-party games for Nintendo. So you have all these different leakers suggesting things. So my take is that, given that, and these aren't like your 4chan posts, your Reddit forums, there was someone just saying, hey, there's going to be a whole bunch of Halo 7s on the Switch. It's people who've said things that are in the past that have been true and have shown to have some form of inside information and sort of maintain, I don't want to say they're to be taken seriously, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I definitely, even if they're, I don't want to say if they're wrong. Like, it's possible that what they are hearing is for something, and it's not exactly what we're thinking. And the best example is that partner showcase, because it was 100% spot on. Like, we were being told that it was going to be announced on a Sunday at midnight, which was just unheard of and hard to believe, but it was true, and it came out 10 hours later, as they said it would. It just wasn't what we thought it would be.
Yeah.
But I think my thinking is that this will be a Nintendo Direct, and maybe it's a mini, not a general Direct, but I think there's going to be the Mario Remasters, a few other things, and we'll get into that a little bit later, because Nintendo needs to talk about at some point. We didn't get that E3 presentation, you know, we had that question earlier, like, do we miss E3? And I think we all miss E3 because we haven't, even if it didn't happen at E3 time, we just don't have those things to look forward to. We don't really know what's coming in the future, save for Pikmin 3, a game that a lot of us have already played. So I think something's coming, and I also want to point out that right now we're in a very interesting period because Paper Mario came out halfway through July, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe is coming out at the end of October. That, if nothing else comes out then, that will be the longest period for Switch where we haven't gotten a published Nintendo game. It's over a quarter of the year. My belief is that the Mario Remasters are going to get announced and it's going to come out in September, which I know is crazy because that would suggest less than a month from release, from announcement to reveal window, and it may end up being the November game, and maybe it is just a slow period right now given the pandemic, but I have a hope that something's coming out in September. So I feel like an announcement is going to release it.
I don't think it's too crazy to think that the Mario Remasters will come out in September because they're remasters. Like, I know Pikmin 3 is a straight up port. Why didn't we come out with that sooner? But I still feel like it is a possibility to have the Mario Remasters in September. If not that, then November. And if not September, then we need to know what's coming in September. Which, if this is a general direct, hopefully that will fill the void. And man, if Jeff Grubb says it's a wild card, then it better not be any announcement that's like freaking Bakugan or something. That was
Carter, right?
Yeah, that was peak frustration for me. I was just like, dude, what made you think people were gonna react well to this announcement? Seriously.
Yeah, especially because, it was an interesting thing. Like, I didn't expect it to be anything too awesome because they clarified it'll be a third-party announcement, and people were hoping, oh well, maybe it's Mercury Steam making a 2D Metroid game because they're a third party. They would be like a third-party relation there, and I was like, I'm gonna maybe not, you know. And I do think that I am of the belief that Mercury Steam's working on something Metroid because I think they did a great job with Samus Returns on the 3DS, but I do not. Yeah, it was not bad. But I feel like a lot of the backlash though wasn't even that Treehouse Paper Mario Bakugan was bad, and I don't even think the partner showcase was terrible. I think Shin Megami Tensei is cool. No. It's just that we got those things when we didn't have any knowledge of anything else. You know, it's kind of like Federation Force. Federation Force isn't a terrible game, but if you only get that and there's no other Metroid on the horizon, then we'll be upset. I also feel like that's why Samus Returns was at least somewhat received well, because we knew about Metroid Prime 4. Like, if they had just announced a 2D Metroid game...
Yeah, but then it was on the 3DS, and nobody wanted to play that.
I do feel like that kind of botched it a little bit. It should have been for Switch.
Yeah.
Probably would have sold a lot better on the Switch.
Maybe.
Everything does.
You know, the device people actually cared about at the time of release.
Exactly.
So, Joey, you suggested that, let's say the Mario Remasters come out in November. You actually are of the belief then that we should still get something in September then?
Yeah. I mean, I because I want it. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's 2020 is a wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, who knows what Nintendo's thinking? Who knows what their plan is? Do they even know what their plan is at this point? Like, I imagine it's a mess over at Nintendo HQ, probably because of COVID, and I say at Nintendo HQ, who's at Nintendo HQ?
We are getting that manager's briefing. There's gonna be like some sort of manager's briefing in September. Like, they might have to do some shakeups, or just figure out who's doing what.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Oh yeah.
It is very interesting, and I'll say that maybe Nintendo didn't know what they were doing when we got the partner showcase, which is why that happened then. Because sometimes I wonder if, like, whoever makes these decisions, and I have to assume it's more than one person that makes these decisions, because like, as a fan, I feel like if someone had put me in the position to decide what is going to be announced and what's going to be said about it, I would not have had that partner showcase come out the way it did. I mean, if like they were like contractually bound to talk about those games, I would have at least had some sort of message that would have been better than what was said. They said there'd be more partner showcases coming, which is great, but guess what? No one liked the partner showcase, so if you're going to give us more of something that isn't great, we're not going to be excited. But if they said, hey, guess what? We're going to talk about some third-party stuff, but don't worry, later this year there will be more announcements from ourselves. Like something like that, just to tell fans that something's coming. Because if people legitimately believe there will be no announcements for this year, they think that's it. They think Pikmin 3 is the game and nothing else.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that camp, and that also just brings up why even make that a developer showcase. You have Twitter. You announced Paper Mario on Twitter. You could have announced all those games during a week-long span on Twitter, and you would not be receiving even a quarter of the hate that you got from making that developer direct. It was kind of tone deaf, to be honest, and like, or even at the very least, don't even announce it 12 hours before it came out. Just upload it like you usually do with mini directs. Like that was just a poor decision on their part, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo makes mistakes. All companies make mistakes, and sometimes it's hindsight's 20/20. They may think, oh, it'll be fine anyway. It really does. It's, again, hindsight's 20/20. I feel like I thought it was smart to not do it in the way they did, but that's just kind of the way it worked out. But let's run under the assumption this direct is actually happening, like a direct.
Yes.
What do you think this direct could have? Like, in my eyes, this would be a pseudo replacement for E3. Maybe it's not as big as an E3 presentation, but it at least sort of carries us into 2021. Like, it tells us what Nintendo's holiday plans are, and maybe early 2021. What do you think, if that's the case, if it's that, what do you guys think we could see during this presentation? I mean, I think we all agree Mario Remasters, the one thing that will be there.
Of course. Maybe we'll see a 3D World announcement if it's coming out in spring or early June, January even. Like what Emily states. And if we're gonna see like any big new announcement that's not the Mario Remasters, maybe it's a game we already know about, like Bayonetta 3 or No More Heroes 3. The fact of the matter is, I don't want to get my hopes up for this upcoming direct because my expectation.
Disappointment's been common this year.
Yeah, disappointment's been pretty common from not just Nintendo, but like pretty much everyone this year. Because if only we had 3.
What do you think?
If only we didn't have a pandemic in general.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 might have been the year. I thought 2020 was gonna be Switch's peak year. I was wrong. But
we were all wrong.
Yeah. How could we have known? Man, it would be a cool. It might be in bad taste, but it would be interesting, like if we made a movie, like talking about what could have been, like what we thought was happening. Kind of like a retrospective going into 2020.
Yeah, like saying like a what if series for 2020.
Yeah.
What if there wasn't a freaking pandemic? What if our president was smart? What if?
Yeah. What if? Exactly. But Brandon, what are your sort of like general thoughts going into this?
Okay. I don't think that Bravely Default 2 or No More Heroes 3 will be delayed into 2021. I think we'll still get both of those, to be honest.
I think that's
so. I think we'll see them.
Plan, yeah.
And I think we'll see something Zelda. Whether that, I think it's either Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild, because I think both of them are going to come out next year. I'm just kind of conflicted on which one's going to come first.
Yeah.
Because it depends. Like, if Breath of the Wild 2 was supposed to come out this year and it got delayed into 2021, then yeah, maybe it's right for like a March release, and maybe they're wanting to do it on the anniversary of the Switch and Breath of the Wild, which even though they don't typically do that kind of thing.
We had the collector's edition listing, right? Like, let's say that's real. Might not be, but let's say like that's because the collector's edition is about to be announced. It would make sense. Like if Nintendo does give us like a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer this week, and actually I had a super chat here from Birdman. I'll just read it out. Thank you very much, Birdman. Here's for a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer this week. Yeah, hopefully. Like if that happens and then they announce, oh, here's the name of the game. This is what its actual name is, and it's coming out March. And also here's the collector's edition. Like, I think that's conceivable, you know. But that gets a little weird when you think about Skyward Sword. To your point, like if Skyward Sword HD is also around the corner, like then Breath of the Wild, like when do you release that and have Breath of the Wild 2 also make sense? Like I feel like Skyward Sword has to come out before Breath of the Wild 2.
It does.
Yeah. And which is also why I suggested that maybe it comes out in November. You know, if Breath of the Wild 2 hits that March side. Maybe that's some of my bias because I want Breath of the Wild 2 as soon as possible, you know? But I'll also argue that we have seen similar things like that in the past. For example, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe came out January 2019, and then in June we got Mario Maker 2. And to me, that just made zero sense. Like, when I saw New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, I just thought, oh, there's no Mario Maker this year. And I was wrong, because that still happened. And now the rumors are suggesting Mario Remasters will be coming out hopefully next month or by November, and that a 3D World Deluxe comes out in January. Point is that I think there is potentially a situation where we get Skyward Sword HD for November, and then Breath of the Wild 2 for March. But I guess that's like a very optimistic perspective there. But I feel like for sure, at least if this is an actual general direct, we see at least one of these two things in this direct.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for both, though.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with No More Heroes 3 and Bravely Default 2 coming out this year. Just 'cause I feel like we would have had to see something about them by now. Maybe that does happen this week. But I especially don't think No More Heroes 3 is coming out this year because you gotta give us 1 and 2 HD. Like, you would maximize the sales potential of No More Heroes 3 if you came out with remasters of 1 and 2. That's just the way I think.
I agree with you. And so that's the thing that also makes me skeptical. I want No More Heroes 3. I feel like it makes a lot of sense just because there's not a lot of games coming out this year, and because it's close to Nintendo fan base, it could hit really hard. So I feel I have a little bit of hope because maybe like that, we have that rating for No More Heroes. Like it makes sense for that to come out. Maybe because it's like it might be considered more of a smaller release. Maybe it's like a package deal or something, or it comes like a month or two beforehand. You know, like maybe it's like a shadow drop for No More Heroes, and then we get like No More Heroes 3 in December. I think that's possible, but I kind of agree with your point that because we kind of need those, that maybe it doesn't come out this year. But I want to raise you something interesting for the both of you. What if there's a Smash character reveal during this direct? Which I think if it is a direct mini or a direct, there will be a Smash reveal, because every mini or direct since Ultimate has been a thing, there's been some sort of Smash announcement. What if that Smash character is Travis Touchdown? Like, it all makes sense. Give us No More Heroes 1 and 2 HD, give us a Travis Touchdown. That's all like marketing for No More Heroes 3. Even if it doesn't hit this year, that could all sort of be pushed together. And I think a lot of people will be excited about Travis Touchdown and Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it would be like, I just picture the trailer like him narrating over it, saying, I was doing this one day, and then this fine-looking girl in a space bounty hunter outfit shows up. Something like that.
That would be so cool. Yeah,
I'm still holding on.
See, that's why it's not gonna happen, because there's too much reason for it, and it's too cool, so it's not gonna happen.
That's always the case, isn't it? Like,
especially for Smash. Don't expect things that make sense to happen.
I'm still holding out hope for Doom Guy. Like,
God, please.
Yes, like trailer. It's Samus fighting aliens. All of a sudden, you see the BFG like get armed, and then Doom Guy shows up. It's awesome. I just hope if they do this. What's it called? This reveal. It's not like they did with ARMS, where it's like, oh, here comes a character reveal. So this next character is going to be ARMS. We'll let you know soon. What? Why would you do that? Yeah, I don't know. For Paul in the chat, I don't know how long Breath of the Wild 2 has been in development, but probably since January 2018. Well, probably December 2018, rather.
I think we have an interview from 2017 where Anuma said that shortly after they released the DLC, they were working on Breath of the Wild 2. So like,
yes, like December 2017.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So late 2017, they probably started, because which basically means that they've been working on a sequel for almost 3 years by this point. So that I would say like a 3.5-year development cycle for a sequel is a very long time, which I think suggests that this game is gonna have a lot of content. I think it'll be pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they would release a Zelda game that didn't feel like entirely like new game in terms of like content. That would be kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, especially because like if you look at all the different Zelda games, they've made it a point to try and make it feel different. Like they always go with a completely different art style, and if it's not a completely different art style, they do something crazy like Majora's Mask. So I think they're gonna do something crazy for this sequel and really shake things up, and that's a pun intended, because if you look at the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, there is an earthquake happening as the castle rises. So I think there's gonna be like some tectonic activity here. That's how I think it changes now.
Tectonic activity. I'm loving it. I love tectonic activity in my video games.
My cat seems to agree. He keeps meowing at me.
The little cat just like, feed me, human.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe after the podcast, if you be quiet. Let's go. I recently moved in. Get fed. He's scared to like go out the room, so I can't lock him out. So, yeah.
Nice. What were we talking about again?
I was talking about my cat.
Yeah.
Calm down,
but
guy.
Paul in the chat was just saying like this is also going to be a sequel that uses a lot of the same assets as Breath of the Wild 1, the same engine, same character models, maybe slightly altered. We haven't had a Zelda sequel like that since Majora's Mask, so that's going to be interesting to see how they do that. And I think it originally was supposed to be DLC, but then they said no, let's make it a full game. So I hope, because usually when I see games like that, they start out as DLC, but then they turn into a real game. Like Saints Row 4, I believe, was one example. The game kind of lacks as a result. But
if
they're taking
go on, what are you saying?
But if they're taking all the time they need to like make this feel like a full-blown sequel with a bunch of content, then that is fine by me.
I think the weird thing to me is that while we did get that, where they told us that we were working on DLC ideas, we had so many other ideas afterwards, we had to make a new other game. This kind of sounds a lot like Mario Galaxy 2 actually. They had other ideas after Galaxy 1, they just made a whole other game. And Galaxy 2 feels like Galaxy 1, just with Yoshi and more levels. I hope it's not that. And I feel like considering the history of Zelda team, they will change it up.
That is erroneous on both accounts. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is so much more than Mario Galaxy 1, but we'll save that for another podcast.
Oh, like I would say Galaxy 2 is my favorite of the two. I'm just saying that a lot of people felt like it was a continuation of it.
I mean, this story was literally like a weird alternate universe version of the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But
didn't really make that much sense, and it was kind of ruined the original story for no reason.
I just thought the levels and the powers were just much better realized than in Galaxy 1.
One of my favorites was the Yoshi pepper, where you could just like, it was the yeah, that was just sick. And one of my favorite levels is like that one where you go up this giant ramp and you have to kind of like maneuver your way all the way up.
That was really good. I love that one.
It was fantastic. But kind of what was the point I was getting at? Just that Breath of the Wild 2 I think is gonna be awesome, basically.
Yeah. Like how you said they had a bunch of ideas for Galaxy 1, but they put them in 2, so this could be a similar thing with Botwick 2.
It's a similar situation, but I think the interesting thing that's if you kind of look at the hints they've given to us about the story, it's kind of weird because Breath of the Wild, like it almost seems like they always intended this, even though they said they didn't. Because like looking at the calamity, the malice, it's everywhere, right? And how like you fought this source of it under the castle, and you have the leader of the Yiga go underground in a giant hole, and there's like all this Zonai ruin stuff. Like there seems to be like all like these little things that it's almost like they put it there knowing they were going to do a sequel, because it all does sort of kind of lend itself towards like
my theory
under the castle.
Is, I mean, they keep saying that they said that it was going to be DLC, and they just decided to make a new game. I think they did intend to just continue it. I think they just intended to continue it with like a story DLC. I think that was the original vision, because I mean the true ending of the game totally hints at something more. There's like issues that they talk about with Varudania, I think it was, or Varuta, I forget which one. The big elephant one.
Oh yeah.
But they're going to like fix issues, and it's not even like just a generic, oh, we're gonna rule the kingdom now. There's like an actual specific like thing that's happening that they're going to fix.
Yeah,
I hope they give us better dungeons.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and make Ganondorf be voiced by Clancy Brown. Like, I will start a freaking GoFundMe campaign to make it happen, because, oh man, what a good actor.
I don't know who that is.
Clancy Brown?
He voices Mr. Krabs.
Oh, okay.
And fantastic in literally any other thing he's into. Like, I don't know if you played Detroit Become Human, but
I've not, but I really want to.
Yeah, he's in that game, and he plays like some drunk detective who's like cynical and whatnot. And sometimes when he yells in that game, you hear Mr. Krabs, and it's so funny. It's like, come on, Chief.
That would be very interesting. I'm just excited for Ganondorf, because I think you could argue that for Breath of the Wild 1, like, you didn't have a relationship with the antagonistic force of nature. Now there could be a relationship, a rivalry, and I think that could hopefully lead towards a more climactic end. Like, I feel like that second to last boss was really cool in Breath of the Wild, but the final one, I wasn't a fan of the victory lap idea. I would prefer it if it's like more like the final fight in Ocarina of Time, where you think he's dead, and he's like, no, I have a stronger form. Time to wipe
This
you
is
out.
even my final form.
Exactly. I want them to do something like that. Like, imagine like you fight Ganondorf and his zombie, or maybe he rejuvenates, he gets rehydrated or something. But honestly, I'm getting more like the Mummy vibes. Like, I think he might spend the game like restoring himself a little bit.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But then
he'll just speak Egyptian for no reason.
Yeah, or I mean, he could speak like old
Gerudo
Gerudo or something, you know?
Yeah.
That would be
Zonai.
I mean, I'd rather he speak English just so he could be voiced by Clancy Brown. I'm just gonna keep riding that train until
Clancy Brown can learn Zonai.
In defense of that, like, they speak English for all the other characters. Even the Deku Tree speaks English, so
Yeah.
It's true.
yeah.
He spoke Hylian for a bit in Wind Waker, but
yeah. He's like, oh, you don't understand me. Sorry.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That little thing.
So maybe they could do something similar for Ganondorf, where he starts off speaking Gerudo because that's his native tongue, and he's like, oh, these fools don't understand me. Let me make it clear what I'm gonna do to them. Like, and then speaks in English. Like, that would be
For some reason, when you said, let me show what I'm really going to do to him, I just imagined him breaking out into dance and start singing, you ain't never had an enemy like me.
zombie dance.
You ain't never had a being like me.
That'd be funny, man. That'd be so cool. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of bringing us back to where we were headed here. I feel like something Zelda's gonna be shown off if this is a direct. It's kind of hard to figure out what's gonna happen because you have Skyward Sword HD maybe happening. But I feel like for sure by February, March, there's at least one Zelda game coming out, I think. Something's coming. And then the other thing, like, it's possible Skyward Sword HD just doesn't happen, and we get Breath of the Wild 2 for March. Or Skyward Sword HD does happen, and it comes, like, I'm hoping November, but maybe more likely February, March, and then that pushes Breath of the Wild 2, like, closer to the holiday. I'll just say that, personally, like, if you assume or take into consideration that development started back late 2017, that would mean a 4-year development cycle for the sequel. The development cycle for Breath of the Wild 1 was about 5 years, and they spent a lot of that time working on the physics engine. Now, I know they're going to do more
of
things.
Issues with that game.
Right.
They delayed it twice.
Yeah, so I would just feel like, man, if it takes you 4 years and you already have an established physics engine to make this game, so you basically have almost a similar level length of development cycle as the original. Like, what are you doing to this game for it to take this long? Like, I feel like this if it's coming out then, that just means the game is just like incredible. Like I feel like it's already going to be incredible if it were to come out now. But if it takes that a whole other year, you know, like there's just something special going on here.
My thing is like, why didn't you show it in 2019 then?
You know why? Because I am fairly certain they were supposed to come out with this year, and then COVID happened.
So I don't think COVID would delay it enough to where if it was supposed to come out this holiday, it would have to come out next holiday. Like, why? Why would there be that large of a delay?
Which is why I feel like March makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like an Animal Crossing situation. Like, we thought Animal Crossing was coming out last year for the holiday, and then it was delayed until March for the next year. So,
True.
I miss the Zelda games coming out in November. Those are holiday games to me.
Absolutely. It's like, it gives me the sense of the holidays, or at least, or like Christmas, or the fall, autumn period. Yeah. I'm right there with you. But if we get it for March, at least we can play it for spring break.
Spring break.
I don't get spring break because I'm a student.
I don't go to school.
Yeah, but maybe. But you know, well, I guess. Actually, I have an interesting question. There's an interesting question I think I want to get to. So Master D said, so Pokemon Snap for December. I'm gonna say no, mainly because they gave us they revealed this game back in the summer, and they said it was under construction, which is basically in development.
Yeah.
Like, why
there
would
was
they...
two separate ways in that trailer for them to say that the game's not done. It had that text underneath that was like games in development, and at the end they did a specific thing, a whole scene dedicated to letting you know that the game is not ready. Why would they do that if the game's going to come out this December?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a 2021 thing, and that would be separate from it. Because I don't know who it was, but earlier I saw someone talking about like that taking place with a mainline Pokemon game. I think you get Pokemon Snap and a mainline Pokemon game next year.
I still can't believe they're making a new Pokemon Snap game, and they're calling it New Pokemon Snap. Like, 20 years we've waited, and they just dropped it on us, like, out of nowhere. Nobody saw that coming. Not a soul. I just love looking at reaction videos for that, because it's just a special kind of, oh, what's this? I'm not really expecting any huge announcement. What?
Right.
That might be the best announcement all year. To me, it's crazy.
You're not wrong at all.
So good. Like, what other announcement? Paper Mario is pretty cool. But I played Paper Mario as I played both of them as a kid, but Pokemon Snap just hits me in the feels, man. So I'm very excited for that game. I think it's going to be amazing. But I don't think it's coming out this year, and I also don't expect it to show up in this Direct. I think the only Pokemon stuff we're getting in this Direct is another trailer for the DLC.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see an announcement for Pokemon Snap, like another update on it in a Pokemon Direct next year. And maybe that's also when they announce their next-gen Pokemon. Not next-gen, but the next Pokemon release, the mainline one from Game Freak.
Next-gen Pokemon game coming to PS5.
Oh, 2 years after a Sword and Shield. All that money they made from sales, it just gave them faster development time.
Yeah. What do you know? Sony exclusivity strikes again in the most unlikely places.
Yeah,
1,000 people working on it. There's 3 different art styles in the game. None of the buttons have like 3 different functions depending on like how fast you press it.
There's a dance mini game like in Final Fantasy VII for some reason. Like, what's
story makes no sense. It's like 3 different storylines and none of them were actually finished.
And there'll be a lot of like hidden loading where you just kind of walk through small holes in walls.
And Clancy Brown plays Pikachu for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I see a Brandon P said here, Halo Infinite wasn't delayed because of COVID. It was delayed because of a horrible reception, and they want a game people love it. If it's not going to be a game, they want the game as a service for years. Well, they cited COVID as part of the reason. I feel like
I'm sure COVID like had some impact as far as like polished, but I think the main issue with that game is just that it made for years to be spec'd for the original Xbox One, and it's a 60 FPS open world game, which is like not an easy feat at all on that system. Yeah. So they just simply haven't had the development time to scale it up for a next-gen system when the power difference is like 10 times or more. They just simply haven't had the time to polish it. And also, I think they wanted to show a build that actually like ran decently, because when you're in development, a lot of your newer builds they have the newer features, but they are buggy and they run terribly, and
So not optimized yet. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's the main issue, and I do think they would have pushed it out like half baked this holiday. I don't think they delayed it because of COVID. I think delayed it because they saw that that their sales might be impacted because it's not in that state.
Yeah,
that
if it was received really well, if the Brute didn't become a meme, they might have pushed it out a little rough. I think he might be onto something there. And I definitely think that they weren't lying when they cited the COVID as a reason, but it was just kind of more of like it's a difficulty that makes it harder to get things out, but they could have still pushed it out if they really wanted to. It just, like you said, would have lacked polish. And yeah, they're definitely trying to make this game be the game that people expect it to be. So we'll see if that happens. But 'cause I just like I don't know how the reviews are, I don't remember, but I know in general fans have felt like since they made the switch to 343 Industries that Halo hasn't really held up to the previous Halos when Bungie used to.
That's true.
So
I will say the actual gameplay for Halo Infinite looks amazing, though.
I thought the game looked pretty
So I'm not
good.
really worried about it. Yeah, it's nice looking for like a current gen game. Like if that launched on the Xbox One, Xbox like One X like a year or two ago, I don't think anybody would have been mad. I think it's just because Microsoft's over here touting that they have the most powerful system, and then they show up this game that looks like a current generation game as their flagship main title from the series that made them what they are.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move. Go. You go. What were you gonna say, Joey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Halo Infinite, and I think I'm even more excited now that this game's being delayed, because I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I did feel like, oh, they really do need to just polish it up a little bit, make Craig look a little better, you know?
I think the nail in the coffin for me, like telling that they were definitely rushing the game. So when they started announcing graphical feature updates post-launch,
that's
and like
in
now,
advance. In advance, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like I have to wait a couple months for ray tracing. No, I just want to play it in my build day one. I don't want to play the game again to like see how it should have looked.
So I know the real reason the game was delayed, though. It's because they want Halo Infinite to come out at the same time as Metroid Prime 4 in 2022.
Of course, that's their plan.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. No, I think
Because I'm sure they're so worried about Metroid Prime sales, because that totally impacted them in the past.
Well, this time it might. Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be a beast. Just you wait. It might be a while before we see it, but when it's shown, it's gonna be a monster. Which I guess is actually as good of a segue as I'm gonna get. Like, beyond Mario and Zelda, what else do you guys think we could see in this direct? Do you guys think we get some sort of Metroid news? There's like 3 Metroid things that are supposedly in development: Prime 4, Prime Trilogy HD, and 2D Metroid. Like, do you think we see anything about, not even that it comes out this year, just something Metroid in this direct?
Metroid probably, but I'm just not holding my breath for anything Metroid, just to prevent myself from being disappointed.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance we could see the 2D Metroid. Maybe that is like the one big game they have for this year. Because I feel like that's something that they could get away with only announcing like a few months ahead. It's just, and it's a 2D game. It's not like a big AAA 3D game.
Let's say I'm right, and that Samus Returns, the Mercury Steam development team that made Samus Returns, like, what if they just transitioned over to development for 2D Metroid like shortly afterwards? It's a 2D game, obviously 3D graphics, but side scroller, which means the scope is not as grand. There's not as much to make there, so the development time would be shorter. I feel like that was in 2017. Like, we're in 2020. I feel like it's pretty reasonable to think that maybe a 2D Metroid could be right around the corner. Like, the time has been there. It just kind of comes down to if one, they start development not too long after Samus Returns, and if two, if the game, even if the game is done, does Nintendo feel like it's the right time to release it? Because the game could be done for months, and they could just kind of save it until they're ready to bring it out.
I feel like now is a good time, though.
We need games.
Perfect time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't. If you have a game ready, why would you hold it now? Don't just release it, please.
I feel like it's a decent bet, at least, that there's going to be one more Nintendo published product besides the Mario Remasters that will release this year. At least one. I think that's got to be the case. Now, what will it be? It might be just another remaster, maybe Skyward Sword HD, right? Maybe it is 2D Metroid. I feel like that would work. You know, I think that could happen. I think there's a decent chance. I'm not like all in on it, but I'll say that if this direct if it's really like the E3 replacement, I'm gonna bet that there will be some sort of Metroid announcement. I'm not saying it'll come out this year, but I think we'll at least see a Metroid announcement if this is like that E3 replacement direct. If this is a direct mini, I'm gonna say no. But if this is a full Nintendo direct, like the first one since September 2019, then I'll say yeah, that we get some.
I don't know if at General Direct, I don't know if Nintendo plans on trying to replace E3 at this point. I feel like the other companies like did that already. You know, they had their attempts, and Nintendo just kind of decided to do nothing. I mean, maybe they're just like, oh, now is the time where they can come out with something big. But I don't think Nintendo is going to give us. I don't think there's a very good chance at all that we're going to get like a big blowout E3 style thing where we get just a bunch of announcements and it's super cool. I think we're going to get something that's like has high moments but isn't like the best direct we've ever seen. And I mean, obviously there's kind of that expectation. It's been almost a year without a direct, so you'd think, you know, oh, obviously they have to come out with like the best direct ever, but I don't think they will. I think they'll come out and it'll be just an okay direct, and we'll be like, that was good enough. There's some things we're really hyped for, but for the most part, not really great.
I don't think you're wrong, but yeah, no, you're probably right. I think the odds of this being the best direct ever are fairly low.
Yeah.
But I think it's still going to be a good direct if it is a direct. I mean, I'm really disappointed by the directs. Personally, like, I'm always like, oh, okay, maybe it's not everything I expected, but there's other things I didn't expect, you know? Like, as long as there's things to play, I'm good, you know? Like, as long as there's stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be 2D Metroid, it doesn't have to be Breath of the Wild 2, it doesn't have to be the Mario Remasters. Just give me something to play and look forward to for the next 3 to 6 months. Whatever that may be. Give me something. And it better be F-Zero.
It's always got to be F-Zero. It just has to be.
It'd be nice if we had another racing franchise besides Mario Kart from Nintendo.
Yeah, it's been 25,000 years. They can't wait much longer, can they?
No, I don't. Yeah, you're probably right. Like, I'll be excited for Excite Truck, pun intended, or Excite Bike, pun still intended, or Wave Race. Like, it doesn't have to be F-Zero. I would like to see some sort of racing game from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't they have like another Excite thing? Like after Excite Truck on the Wii, it was like, what was like Excite Bugs or Excite Animals? It was like Robot. I know I didn't play it. I just
Yes.
It was Excite.
I don't remember what it's called.
What was it?
Excite Bots.
Oh, Excite Bots. There you go. Yeah.
Dinosaur bots or something. Spiders.
Did you ever play it? I never played it.
No, I never really played any of those games.
No. Excite Truck though, that was a game. I thought that game was a really good launch title for the Wii. Like the visuals were, at least at the time, I felt like it looked like notably better than GameCube games, and the worlds were like pretty vast. You could go really off track, and there is like collisions and destruction, and the music was cool. You could even like put in custom music into the game. Like I think you could like put in your SD card and you could like listen to tracks that weren't just made by the developers. It's a cool game.
Cool.
Yeah, I miss that game.
Yeah, those were some good times.
Anyway, I'm not predicting it, but I'll say that I have a hope we see something else from Nintendo that isn't Mario or Zelda. Yeah. Well, actually, you know, I will predict that. I think there will be something that isn't Mario or Zelda announced at the Direct. I think that'll happen. I just don't know what that'll be because there's like a million options, and Nintendo has a lot of them just kind of dormant. Like Kid Icarus is just in a closet. F-Zero has been forgotten. Like, I don't know.
That's just when we'll get our. This is when Monolith Soft will come out and save the day. We'll get something from them. There you go. Get us that Xenoblade Chronicles X port. Just all the ports this year. Just all of them. Any port you've ever thought that you've wanted. Just that's what we need. Just bring it all. My Wind Waker HD, my Twilight Princess HD. I need those. Xenoblade X.
I see an interesting question here. I think you guys will like this one. Furcus King asked, "Hey Andres, with all the known Retro Studio staff and people who joined Metroid Prime 4, is it likely we will see multiplayer?" I think that's a really interesting question because I've been thinking about it. I've been wanting to kind of make a video talking about it. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but like considering the talent, like there's been a lot of like people who've been working on shooters and online shooters and first-person games. Like they've been hiring some really quality stuff here. And there was one in particular that came up like at least a month or so ago, where it was one of the lead guys for Call of Duty, and they worked on some aspects of the online at least, and something else. Like that is the right kind of talent to hire for potentially setting up some sort of multiplayer for Prime 4. Now, is it going to happen? That's tough to say. I feel like Nintendo wants Metroid Prime 4 to sell really well, and online multiplayer definitely helps games to do that.
Oh yeah.
So
any sort of first-person shooter is kind of expected for the most part to have online. I remember Wolfenstein launched without online. That was like a big deal. I was like, oh, it's not online.
Yeah, I mean, but that was part of the game's charm too, because Wolfenstein's always been single player, I think. I know Doom has been multiplayer, but Wolfenstein, if there was a multiplayer mode, it was probably in like the 2009 Wolfenstein game. I'm not quite sure. Feel free to fact check me on that. But Wolfenstein's been all about single player mostly, with the exception of the latest game, which was a co-op shooter that also completely missed the point of what makes Wolfenstein great. But I think that there could be a multiplayer mode in Metroid Prime 4. If there isn't, I'll be okay. I just like...
Metroid's experimented with multiplayer in the past, though.
Yeah,
Prime Hunters, Prime 2... Yeah, Prime Hunters is lauded as like the best example of online multiplayer, but I never got to play the online because neither me nor my parents could figure out how to hook the DS up to Wi-Fi, so that just never happened.
Yeah.
I
got
had
a
to play
chance to play it. It was cool. Like I thought what was cool about it was that you had these different hunters. It was kind of like one of the first hero shooters before there were hero shooters like Paladins or Overwatch. Yes, thank you. I'm not a big hero shooter guy. Sorry. Not saying I wouldn't. I just haven't gotten around to it because I'm a Nintendo fanboy. But
look at you, fanboy! How dare you?
yeah. I would. I mean, Paladins is free. I've played it. It's fine. But anyway, I'm just saying though. Like, I feel like I could conceivably. I think it's possible that maybe Metroid Prime 4 could kind of take that route where you bring in different hunters. And it's kind of like you have different characters with different powers, and it is kind of similar to Overwatch in that way. I think that's a possibility, especially considering that we've been told by Kensuke Tanabe, the Prime director, that Silex is going to have a role in Prime 4. Now, maybe that changed after the restart, but I'm going to say no, that's still a big factor, especially because we've had multiple teases after both Federation and Prime 3 of Silex having something to do with Prime 4. So, given that, there could be hunters in the game, and if you have hunters in the game, well... maybe you put in a multiplayer because that's going to help sales anyway. I think there's a decent chance.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Stylix will still be a part of it. I'm actually playing Prime Hunters on my Wii U right now because I'm thinking about making a video on it soon.
Okay.
And so it's some interesting stuff. Like I'm always fascinated with how they were able to make a first-person 3D Metroid on a handheld. Like back in those days, that was just unheard of. Now it hasn't aged the best. I'll say that. Definitely hasn't. It's definitely feels more like a prototype of what a 3D Metroid could be on a handheld rather than a pure 3D Metroid game on a handheld.
Do you remember the demo?
I don't. I've never played it.
Oh, it was cool, dude. It was different. Like basically, you were, from what I remember, like you were basically like in this small space station, and you could just kind of run around shooting Metroids for like a high score. And that was pretty much it. But it was neat. Like you got to explore, you got to see like an actual 3D Metroid game with N64 level of graphics, which it was cool because we never got that N64 Metroid. So for me, it's like, oh man, this is what it would have been like if Metroid Prime ever came out on N64. So it was a fun little thing. But just to kind of play devil's advocate, though, you could make the argument that Metroid's thing has been like, I mean, it's not even an argument; it's a fact. Like the focus of Metroid has always been like that single player experience, save for hunters, and that even Prime 2, like the multiplayer was like more of a side thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think definitely the focus still should be the multiplayer. Can they? I mean, the single player. Sorry, but like, is there still room to put in a solid multiplayer on top of an amazing single player campaign? I think there is, especially if you are hiring a whole bunch of people and putting in a very large budget for this game, which is what it seems to be like. Like, I feel like Nintendo's treating this kind of like Space Breath of the Wild to an extent. Like the only other game Nintendo has actually put out a dedicated video to announce a delay for a game has been Breath of the Wild and Metroid Prime 4. Like, I feel like that kind of shows that they hold them in similar esteem in terms of like their efforts in terms of quality, like what they want to bring out of this game. Even though sales wise it probably won't be as good as Breath of the Wild, like that's just unlikely. But
Yeah.
I think that there is definitely like a huge effort going into this. So whatever this game is, it's gonna be huge. Maybe that hugeness leads to a solidly sized single player campaign that's like maybe 50-40 hours or something, which wouldn't be as long as like Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild, but maybe you can still have like a solid multiplayer after that. And then even though maybe not like a really large multiplayer, like it's just a few maps, it's a good starting point, and then they could use DLC to kind of expand on that and give that game legs for a few years. That's what I'm sort of hoping for, but you know.
Yeah. I don't know if the campaign will be 40 to 50 hours.
I don't think so.
I think it'd be more like 20 to 30.
Don't spoil
I
it.
think it'd be more like 15 to 20. Like, we're still talking about Metroid, right? Sorry, I was just reading something real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, a part of me just wants them to hurry up. So, if that means they can just pump out a standard Metroid Prime game in 2 to 3 years without crunch, which I don't support crunch when I say hurry up. Like, never crunch your employees. Never do that. But if that means we can get a really good Metroid Prime game out faster than usual, then by God, let it happen. Like, I don't need the next Metroid Prime game to be open world at all. I just want to play it because I've been waiting like half of my damn life for it.
Yeah, so in fairness to what you guys are saying, Prime 1, 2, and 3 were like 15 to 20 hours, right? My only reasoning for thinking it'll be longer is just that, like, I feel like, especially when it comes to like Nintendo's big games, they are longer than what they used to be. Like, Wind Waker took like 20 hours. Twilight Princess took like 60 hours. Breath of the Wild takes over 100 hours, you know?
If you take 60 hours from Twilight Princess, I feel like you're a little slow.
The point is that there is it's 40 to 60. I was a slow one. But the point is that it was longer than Wind Waker, and then as we've gone on over the year, like Skyward Sword is also a very long game. A lot of padding, but you know, it was a very long game. Comparing it to like Wind Waker Ocarina of Time, but there's been like a trend of like Nintendo games getting longer, so that's why I'm thinking that Metroid Prime 4 will probably be a longer game than the original.
I think it'd be longer. I just don't think it will be that much longer. I think it would be 30 hours if you do everything.
Okay, I mean that's fine. It less is sometimes more. Like Wind Waker's one of my favorite Zelda games, even though it's shorter than some of the later ones. Length. Okay. A 20-hour game can still be a masterpiece. It doesn't have to be 40 or 100 hours. There.
Yeah, it's like the older I get, the less time I have, so bring it.
yeah, exactly. I'm liking games that are just a good 20, 30 hours. I can just play them, beat them, move on to the next game, enjoy my experience, and not have to sit through My problem is like longer games is okay, maybe I get more of a better experience, but usually it's just I get that same experience with like bad parts in between, just kind of shoehorned in there. And it says longer, sure, but it's like I could have just remove all the fluff. I don't understand people who think that they have to get like a certain amount of hours for the amount of like money they put in.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Like, I get it, but I also think it's kind of ridiculous. Like, maybe the game's like 4 hours and it costs $60 and it doesn't have like the Order 1886. That's where I understand. But like I remember talking about the game Control with one of my coworkers, and I was like, "Oh yeah, the story's about 15 hours long." He's like, "Oh, I can't imagine spending $60 on a game that's only that long." And I'm like, "Okay, but there's like, it's a Metroidvania, so you go around and you do quests, and there's going to be expansions." It's just like, dude, like, come on. And the story is really good. It's just all these factors like go into play. A game can be, if we're talking about the Metroid Prime games, like each of those games are around 8 hours. Like if you collect most things, but not everything.
If you know what you're doing, you can definitely get through them pretty quick. Yeah,
exactly. And
I think it took me like 10 hours. I didn't 100% it though. That was my first time ever playing. It took like 10 hours.
Man, well, slow.
I just played the games recently, and I think one of the games took me an absurdly amount of long time to beat because I just don't know what happened. I think I still haven't
beaten
probably two.
I keep getting stuck on it. I've gone every time I replay, I get further in, but I still get stuck.
Yeah, every time I see 2, I just look at it and go, "Oh, I would be so frustrated by this game."
With Prime 2, I got stuck where I beat Quadraxis. Like, I think he's the penultimate boss or like the last like boss for a major. I have to collect all the keys before I can go to the end game sequence, basically.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah. So, I hope Prime Trilogy comes. I don't know if it'll be at this supposed direct, but I feel like Prime Trilogy will probably come out next year.
I hope so. I hope it comes out sometime. I think even next year, isn't that Metroid's 35th anniversary? I thought Zelda and Metroid had like came out the same year.
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. I don't know, like, for example, I mean, Skyward Sword came out for the 25th anniversary for Zelda, but that came out in November of that year. The technical anniversary was February. Like, it doesn't have to be like the month, but I'm just kind of curious when the original Metroid released, like, within that year. First release August 1986. So yeah, you're right. 35th anniversary. The year from now.
Son. They better do something.
Yeah, I think there'll be something. Prime Trilogy actually would be a pretty good thing, you know? I've had this like weird idea. Maybe it's not that weird. So like, suppose we're getting the Mario Remasters, maybe even September for Mario's 35th anniversary. Hypothetically speaking, what if Nintendo were to kind of match that, right? And then this February for Zelda's 35th anniversary, we don't just get Skyward Sword HD, but we also get a Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD in a collection. And then for August, we get Prime Trilogy. So we have this like standard set where for Nintendo's 35th anniversaries, for like their initial like big 3 campaign games, they each have like a 3-game collection.
To be sick. I really, really want to play Wind Waker again. It's my personal favorite game ever. It's been a few years since I've played it.
I want it on my Switch and not my Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold my Wii U because it's junk.
It's ridiculous that we don't even have those on Switch yet, and it's already 3 years in, 3.5.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Crazy.
Maybe we'll get those this year.
Maybe the reason they haven't come is because they've been saving them for the 35th anniversary in a collection.
Put out Wind Waker and Twilight Princess this year, and then put out Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild next year.
That's a lot.
Because I feel like
maybe.
Skyward Sword is kind of more the game out of the past games to represent the 35th anniversary. It's definitely the best. It did represent the 25th anniversary, so
yeah. I think that Nintendo could definitely get away with selling that on its own for $60.
Yeah, 100%. They want to do that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But just kind of getting back to the predictions here. besides Mario or Zelda, is anything else you guys are kind of hoping for? We touched on Smash Bros. Already. I feel like we'll probably see Doom Eternal. Like especially like if Doom guy is somehow a Smash character, that'd be crazy. Or Travis.
I will say that typically, a lot of times Bethesda has done updates separate from directs for some reason. So I don't know if we will see Doom Eternal in a direct. Sometimes they do. It's usually for like their initial reveal for their games. A lot of times they don't follow up. They'll like follow up in trailers or separate events.
Yeah. I feel like
so we might just see it again like on Twitter.
Yeah. My prediction is that we're going to see Doom Eternal. If Doom Eternal is still coming out this year, I think they'll show Doom Eternal in this direct. That's my
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that we still haven't seen anything of it. Man,
Yeah.
I remember when that game was supposed to come out day and date with the other versions.
For real,
Like,
it's been so long.
gamers need to stop getting screwed like that.
I think they're going to add something new to it, or is it just the same game? Like it's been so long at this point. Like maybe they should throw in something else in there, like a
Maybe they
Samus
will.
skin.
I don't know.
Maybe a Samus costume.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool like if you put it on, you're like wearing like the Samus visor, and you can see the arm cannon. That would be
Oh.
really really cool.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they do have skins in the game, so that they could just add a Samus skin.
It'd be
It's
kind of like what they did
insane.
with for Bayonetta. Like you have all those different like in Bayonetta, like you could like move about in the morph ball. Like
Oh.
it was interesting.
forgot about that. Wow. I need to play that game again.
Yeah. So I think we'll see Doom Eternal, and I didn't think about it beforehand, but now I feel like because it's been so long, they gotta throw something else in there, man.
Yeah.
Something. But yeah. But Brandon, you were saying something for Smash Brothers, or was that pretty much it?
I didn't say anything for Smash Brothers, but I was kind of serious when I said Mollensoft could show something. I mean,
They've been
it
working. They have
depends.
multiple games in development. They've like
had
5
that medieval
studios.
game in development for a long time. They haven't shown anything of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering if they'll show it off. I wonder if maybe they originally might have planned to show it off at E3, but they might just show it off next year if it's coming out next year, since everything's thrown off. You don't really need to announce anything huge for like E3 event. You don't need to show your cards early during an event like that, so they might just wait till next year if that game is slated for then. Because I mean, that game's been in development since like early 2018 or something.
Yeah. Hard to say. So I feel like we're definitely getting kind of towards the end of this discussion here, but like, is there any like other things, like any prediction at all do you guys think we could see, like a hope at least of something else for this rumor direct?
I think we've pretty much covered it. Like, Miracle, maybe a CGI trailer for Prime 4, but
That
I
would
guess-
be a miracle. Yeah.
yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
my expectations are just not high right now.
Okay. If we got a CGI trip, that would, man.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be really, really awesome. For sure. Anything, Brandon? Or you're also going into this with low
I mean, off the
expectations?
top of my head, other than what we've already discussed, I don't really have any other predictions. No.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just summarize my predictions. This is all assuming there is a direct, like if it's like a mini or partner showcase that kind of scales things back a little bit. But I think we're going to get an update on Bravely Default 2 and No More Heroes 3. I feel like at least one of those comes out this year. Hopefully both, but we'll see. I think we'll see the Mario Remasters. I think if 3D World Deluxe is coming out January, we're going to talk about that. I think we'll see at least one Zelda thing during this presentation. And I'm going to say it's Breath of the Wild 2. And maybe we get Skyward Sword HD as well. But if this is like a big E3 Direct, I think it's about time you start talking about Breath of the Wild 2 again.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like the big thing. There will also probably be a Smash reveal. Maybe they open the show with... I mean, they probably should open the show with Mario Remasters, but maybe there's some sort of Smash announcement at some point in there. I'm going to guess Travis Touchdown or Doom Guy. Like, those are both great things. And on that note, I feel like Doom Eternal will probably show up as well. And there's also been some talk of... Fall Guys actually. Like they saw like in the Steam version, like there was a data mine of like support for Switch or something like that. So maybe Fall Guys.
I know it's
gets
coming
announced
to
for Switch.
Xbox. I think that's already announced that it's coming to Xbox One.
But it hasn't been announced for Switch.
No.
Why wouldn't they announce like
Switch?
what?
It's totally coming to
Yeah.
Switch. Let's not kid ourselves.
100%. There's no reason not to.
So I feel like that could very well be announced during this Direct if that's happening. Maybe that's why it hasn't been announced yet, because they're saving it for the Direct.
Maybe so.
Beyond that, I have a hope for like one other random Nintendo game. I don't know what it is. Maybe Donkey Kong, maybe F-Zero, maybe Kid Icarus, maybe Splatoon spin-off. There was like that concept art that came out early in the year with the salmon. It's like begging for help. So maybe there's something there, maybe not. But that's pretty my expectations. Like Brand, I feel like you made a good point earlier that like even though it's been so long, that doesn't mean that this is going to be the E3 Direct of Directs is going to surpass all previous Directs. But I also feel like we're going to watch it, and it's going to be pretty good. Like it's not. It's.
I think there will be like one or two announcements where we're like, "Damn, that was awesome," and the rest is going to be like, "Okay, this is decent." And one of them might just be like a 2021 confirmation for Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, that would be huge. Getting a trailer for that would be just seeing a trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, confirming it for next year, and getting the Mario Remasters, like that alone, just gonna have me super super high. Like that would be amazing. And we may not even get that, but you know that I think if we get that, that'll be really good. I'll bring up that I feel like there's a decent chance we see something Metroid, but I'm not like 100% on it, maybe 50-50.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I mean, that's pretty much my expectations. But to kind of end things off on something that's pretty cool, though, let's say Breath of the Wild 2 is like revealed. What kind of name do you think it'll be? What do you think we'll see from this trailer? Will it be gameplay? Like, what are your like hopes or like thought process into what we could see with the second trailer?
They've got to show gameplay at this point, because they showed off that trailer, which already showed a lot, to be honest, and a lot and very little at the same time. But you know, more than the original trailer for Breath of the Wild 1 did. And as for names, don't even ask me. We are not gonna at all get what the name is gonna be.
I don't know what the name will be, but I do think it will be a trailer. I think it will be focused on gameplay concepts. I don't think it will actually be like a trailer where they're just playing the game. I think it will still be like those same like overhead shots. It might be more like the
first official
2016 trailers.
Yeah, like the one that came before E3. Not the initial trailer, but like that one where we got the title. I think. Do you guys think we'll at least get a title? If we get a second trailer?
I don't know if we'll get the title this year, to be honest. It depends. If it's coming out this spring, then yeah, 100%. But if it's gonna be like a holiday 2021 game, then no, I don't think we'll see the name.
I'm gonna side with we get a name.
Me too.
Yeah. But I agree with you, Joey, that like predicting a name is just like next to impossible.
Don't like try.
Like for example, how would someone predict Majora's Mask? You don't even know what the name of the mask is. Like, even if you saw a trailer for it, you'd be like, what is that? Ocarina
of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess.
Sword. But Breath of the Wild especially, that's like the most...
Breath of the Wild.
Who would have thought that, like, at all? And
I remember when it was first announced, everybody was, like, could not remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. What was like? People were mixing it up with something else. I don't.
Yeah. Call of the Wild.
I kept calling it Breath of Wind.
Oh yeah. People kept calling it Call of the Wild, Breath of the Wind.
That makes sense because it's like a breath, and you see like that open air environment. Like it makes sense.
People think it's called like Return of Ganon or something, and I'm like, no, it's not.
That's too. No.
They've only ever
way too
Wand of Gamelon. That's Wand of Gamelon levels of naming, I think.
Yeah, and they never put character names.
That sounds like a book or like a season of a show. That does not sound like a name of a Zelda game.
And the one time they put a character's name in the title was Link's Awakening, or technically A Link to the Past, A Link Between whatever.
All right, so I'm gonna put out a name out there, and as you guys have noted, the odds of getting it right are just like next to zero. I probably have a better chance of winning money from a lottery, but I'm just gonna say it: Triforce Resurrection, or Triforce
that is
of Resurrection. Like, that's actually, no, that's terrible. I take it back.
It's a horrible
name.
I
take it back.
Do I be nice right now, or do I admit?
No, it's okay.
Right? That was a horrible.
I was wrong.
Please don't say Triforce Heroes 2.
That's actually probably a better name. But there is one name that I think is semi-predictable. Breath of the Wild 2. Like, what if they just go keep the same name and just give it a 2?
I don't think they'll do that.
Be so lazy.
I mean, even Majora's Mask, which is literally a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time,
So-
it has its own name.
And I'm right there with you guys, but let me provide this argument though. So, Breath of the Wild is the best-selling Zelda game of all time. They've brought in a whole new audience there, and there's definitely other Zelda games, you know. And before Breath of the Wild, like there's like, okay, you have the 2D Zelda games and 3D Zelda games, but now Breath of the Wild's like created a new brand of like 3D Zelda games. Like, do you think Nintendo will be like, oh, well, we want people to understand this is the next Breath of the Wild. We want more people to buy this than your other, like your Skyward Sword remaster, for example. Like, do you think they would do that for that reason? The same way they called the Wii U the Wii U, even though it didn't make any sense.
I think they might do a name that like feels very similar to Breath of the Wild. I don't know exactly. Like, just for an example, like Breath of Fury, or I don't even know, something similar. But
I like that idea. Like, maybe keep an aspect of the name, but another part of it that makes it different. Yeah.
Legend of Zelda, Evil of the Wild Breath. Or
Evil.
Yeah, Evil of the Wild Breath. Oh
breath.
man, you got some
Morning
onions in
breath.
there. Yeah.
The Morning Breath of the Wild.
Because nobody likes morning breath, and that's what Ganondorf is.
Yeah. I think there's something there. So, yeah. But going beyond like the titling here, like, you see, Brandon, you were thinking it wouldn't really have that much gameplay. Joey, you are thinking it'll have gameplay.
Well, see, I think it will have gameplay, but not like from the. It will be showing the game, and you'll get an idea of the concepts and like what you're doing, but it won't be like from the perspective. Like, the camera's not going to be sat behind like they're just sitting down playing the game and recording.
Oh yeah.
I think it'll be like a cinematic overlook of gameplay concepts and things like that.
Like the E3 trailer. The E3 2016 trailer.
Yeah, that first one. Like, we learned about we saw the runes and the horse riding. Like, we learned about what you do in the game. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we probably won't see a HUD, if that's what you're alluding to. Like, I don't think we'll see a HUD. Like, that. I think maybe you're right on that one. I could see that. And, like, I think we'll probably learn more about that hand, what it does. We'll probably see, like, some gameplay mechanics with the hand. I think we'll get a look at the overworld. We'll see some differences of it. And I think there also will be a little bit more story told. We'll get a little bit more of a hint as to what's going on with Ganondorf.
A little bit. I mean, Breath of the Wild, they spoiled the whole story before the game came out, so.
Breath of the Wild didn't really have a story.
No, it had a story. It all happened before the game started.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, what do you guys make?
It had one of the coolest stories, actually. I think it would be better just inherently because the story happens as you're playing instead of just being like backstory. Essentially, that was it. Like, there's gonna be story progression here. There's things we don't know. Like in Breath of the Wild, you learn everything there is to know in the first like couple hours, and then that's pretty much all the story is. In this one, like, no matter what, the story will at least be told throughout the game, seemingly, unless they like purposely don't. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to seeing this thing. It's been such a long time, so hopefully we get some good details. And I hope the story is like better told. I think the biggest thing is that, like you guys noted, the story was in the past beforehand, right? So this one is gonna be a current story. It seems like, at least. So, I think it'll be a little bit better. Yeah. Onyx agrees.
Me too.
Yeah, but you guys have any other final thoughts before you're ready to call it a night?
I'm just really hoping.
Play Metroid.
Play
that
Metroid,
will
yeah.
make your life better. Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm just really hoping we actually get some news, because I feel like I haven't even thought about my Switch other than Paper Mario for the whole year. I mean, I played Xenoblade, but that's a game that I know inside and out. It's not really a new experience for the most part. And then Animal Crossing is just one of those games you play here and there, but it's not really a dedicated experience for me. I just need something to get me back into Nintendo.
Say that again, Joey?
Yeah.
I say that as a big Animal Crossing fan. Like I was into that game for like maybe a solid month, like every day. And
it's one of those games you get into it and you play it, and then one day you don't play it, and then you're like, maybe I should just not play it, and then you just don't continue.
And then your villagers get mad when they haven't seen you for a month or 2 months or 5 years.
Yeah, I'm scared to go to my Animal Crossing game. I don't know what they're gonna tell me because it's been a few months. I hope I don't go in there. It's just a giant jungle that I have to cut everything down. I'm afraid, man. It's gonna be Breath of the Wild 2 there. It's just gonna be a monster.
Exactly.
There's a sequel. Don't play Animal Crossing, and then you'll know what Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna be like.
Especially with how much more weeds there are in that game compared to like New Leaf.
I'm scared, man.
New Leaf, it was like there's 20 weeds in my town. And New Horizons is like there's 3,000 weeds in my town.
I'm scared. I don't know. But let me reference a couple of things in the chat here, and then we'll call it an end. The Joker had a stab at the name. The Legend of Zelda: Calamity Storm. That'd be cool.
He actually had another one that I like better, and that is Return to the Wild.
That implies sequel without it saying 2. Okay, that's a good. Yeah, if anything, that's a pretty good one. Yeah. Premarine Gaming, please talk about Wii Sports. I thought Wii Sports was great. No, that's a good one.
That Clubhouse Games, 51 Worldwide Classics. What do you mean?
Yeah, there
Wii
we go.
Sports.
Yeah, that's something.
That's your Wii Sports type game. What do you mean?
There you go.
Captain Rex added me trailer for Mario Striker. Hey, if it's the Mario anniversary, I wouldn't mind if you announced another Mario spinoff, and Mario Strikers would be like the best one. So
it is kind of a weird time for that though, because they usually have the sports games in like the summertime.
Yeah, but everything was delayed, so who knows?
True.
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyways, everyone, thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure to check out Joey's channel, FerrisWheelPro. It is linked in the description below. And as is Brandon's channel, What About Nintendo, you're both linked in the description below. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of what you guys are working on before we bid everyone a good night?
Yeah, I am working on a video right now. I just came out with a video on Alan Wake. You guys should definitely check that out if you're into that series, or not into that series. If you're into horror games, you should definitely check that video out. It's a long one, but if you don't want to watch that, I'm coming out with I have videos on the Metroid Prime trilogy you can check out, and I also am working on one for Prime Hunters. Maybe. We shall see, because a part of me after working on a 20-minute video is kind of like you know.
So definitely check that stuff out, guys. He makes some really good content. You're gonna love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, is that it for you guys? You guys got anything else?
Yeah, that's
all good.
All right. Make sure to stay safe, everyone. Keep those expectations in check. But I'm at least gonna say something's happening this week. This Friday, I'm willing to make that bet. We're gonna get something, and I think it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
No, yeah, can't wait.
Fingers crossed. All right. Take care, everyone. See you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Cool.